Drivers from 16 states and 4 countries. Teenagers, like 12 of them in this race, all trying to prove themselves on this big stage. These drivers trying to prove that they can make that next step, but it starts here by running well and finishing well in this race.
They are on their feet. We are racing. Green flag is in the air. Let's see what happens here.
Those championship contenders for the overall championship. 2 points, the difference. I can't wait.
Welcome to the ARCA Menards Series Shore Lunch 200 at Toledo Speedway. This is it. It is the season finale, and it is already shaping up to be a nail-biter. A chilly start to the day, but the sun is out. The fans, they are bundled. They still have their coats, their stocking caps on, but they are ready to go, and so are we. Toledo Speedway is the home of the ARCA Series. Krista Kelly, along with Jim Toledo, we will be your tour guides for this homecoming weekend. This is the first time in 11 years Toledo Speedway has hosted this season finale, and all eyes are on 2 drivers.
Hey, man, the last 3 races of the season on short tracks has proven to be really exciting because how close things have gotten all season long. It comes down to this. 2 points separating our race point leader, Nick Sanchez, and Daniel Dye. Daniel's looking for his first win on the year, but man, is it ever so close this late in the season.
Yeah, the numbers are close, but I use the phrase nail biter because of maybe some things that have already happened here today. Nick Sanchez talked with our Mike Massaro just a little while ago.
Nick Sanchez has a 2-point lead, but he's already faced a little bit of adversity this weekend, a motor change just before practice. How's that affect your outlook heading into the race?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously it wasn't ideal, but in a way it kind of makes my job easier. You know, you play the...
Easier? How's it make it easier?
I mean, we didn't have practice, so we didn't change the car. And now it's pretty simple. I just have to go race and do my best. So we have what we have, and now you're going to see very quickly if it's good enough in the race to beat the 43.
So I know you needed to miss practice, but your teammate lent you a little bit of a hand. You were able to jump in Raja Karut's car for a few laps. What were you able to take from that you can apply to today?
Just track conditions and grip. You know, the feeling. Last time I was here, totally different weather conditions. So just got a good feeling of that and just drive. So qualifying, I honestly think our car is better than 8th. Underdrove it, just not knowing what it would do. But hopefully it's good in the long run of the race. I think that's going to be huge.
Best of luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
Nick Sanchez looking for his first career championship.
Okay, but he is the hunted. He has the bullseye on his back and already having an issue. He said everything right there, but what do you think?
He's hoping that he can repeat what he did here last March and finishing 3rd. Daniel Dye has yet to race a lap here at Toledo Speedway, so benefit Nick Sanchez in this ever-close comparison. Man, it all comes down to who's got better nerves, I think, at this point in the race.
Okay, well, let's hear from Daniel Dye. He also caught up with Mike.
1 race remaining, and Daniel Dye has to make up just 2 points to claim the ARCA championship this year. What's this like for you?
It's crazy, you know, growing up, watching the ARCA race at Daytona, living in Daytona Beach. I wanted to just race an ARCA car, race Daytona, you know, race places like Charlotte, race places like Toledo for the championship. So now I'm here. It's kind of hard to believe, but we're going to do our best and you know, hopefully make one of those dreams come true.
To make that dream come true, how do you need to approach this race today?
I think we just got to look at it like every other race. You know, I've done the same thing this week, just prepared. Sam Mayer is a buddy of mine who has a lot of success in the ARCA East Series and in ARCA. Got his notes. Having Grant Enfinger here, my teammate at GMS Racing, has been a big help. I think he's a former ARCA champion and has raced at this track before. So just having him here on my side has been helpful too. Chad Bryant, I mean, I'm just in a fantastic position right now. And to be able to start second here, start on the front row next to Jesse, we've got a pretty good start to the day.
You heard him. He wants to make a dream come true. He rolls off on the front row looking for the ARCA Championship of 2022.
So much more than just a race. They're holding a steering wheel, but they are racing for a dream. So many reasons to watch today. They are more than ready. We are too. We hope you are at home. Let's fire the engines.
champion from Shore Lunch, Andy Lockman, with the most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines.
It all comes down to this. Today's race will change someone's life because one will be crowned champion, and you will see it all unfold next, right here on MAV TV.
This MAV TV Motorsports Network broadcast is brought to you by General Tire. For whatever you do, General Tire delivers. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards.
So hyped to be racing for a championship at Toledo Speedway here in the ARCA Menards Series. Getting you ready for the race. Here's the 411 presented by Lucas Oil. It's a half-mile track, Toledo Speedway. Yes, the home of ARCA. They're going to turn 100 miles, 200 laps today. And we are going to have those race breaks, Jim, near 75 and 125.
Last week at Salem Speedway, our second to last race of the season, similar format. Those 50 laps in the middle mean everything because likely lap 125 may be the last time these teams get a chance to see pit road on this abrasive racetrack.
So much on the line as we get you ready for the green flag. Today's General Tire Pole Award winner, a familiar face, a familiar number, Jesse Love in that number 20. They're racing for the Owners Championship.
Really solid lap by Jesse. The fourth time he's won the General Tire Pole Award, but now he pulls even. 0-point lead between the two Owner Championship drivers. Jesse Love representing the 20 of Venerini and the 18 of Kyle Busch Motorsports and Sammy Smith. They're deadlocked tied right now for the Owners Points Championship.
Yeah, they came in with Sammy Smith having that 1-point advantage, but Jesse Love on the pole, has sort of wiped the slate clean. Jesse Love, by the way, has a fresh haircut. He said it's arrow. It's all about the arrow today.
Shorter. He was all business when I talked to him today, man. He's ready to go. On the pole, he nipped Daniel Dye. Now, if Daniel Dye won the pole, he would have got the General Tire pole point. But now he'll line up outside row number 1. And Grant Enfinger's his teammate today at GMS Racing, full-time NASCAR Playoffs Truck Series driver. Grant Enfinger back in ARCA. He'll be in the black 44 starting third.
A lot of familiar names there. Sammy Smith, last week's winner. There you see Landon Pembleton in the 15. Great qualifying effort for Amber Balkan in the 30. And there's Nick Sanchez, the driver leading the point standings.
Qualifying was his first laps on the racetrack today. Nice job for Nick. Brandon Varney back in this series as well, a short tracker out of Michigan. Matthew Gould, his dad Phil, oversees the operation at Nice Motorsports, so they're getting involved in ARCA for the second time with that 16-year-old driver starting 12.
Yep, we have 2 Ambers in the field today. Amber Slagle in that number 42. She's back there in row 8, looking a little bit further back in the field here today. A lot of guys to root for, a lot of different stories. We're going to take you on board, show you our onboard cameras brought to you throughout this race. You see the cars on their pace laps.
Might need an extra lap here. It's a little cool outside. We talked about it being sunny, but that breeze is coming headstrong, and it's a little chilly when the sun gets behind the clouds.
It is. Here, this is the onboard for Nick Sanchez with Rev Racing. This is your General Tire camera. We're going to be, I think, tuning into that one quite a bit, taking a look at that one. The bounty camera for his teammate Raja Karuth in the number 6.
I was hoping Raja would wear white gloves. I love seeing his hand movements through that windshield. It's obvious, but he's got black ones on today.
Inside that car, Taylor Gray there with the Reese's camera, and then Daniel Dye with the Low Payment Kings camera for us today in the 43. So the guys we expect to be front runners. We're going to take a look inside their machines quite a bit. There you see that 17. We're going to talk about that paint scheme as well as we're getting you ready to go green. The season started at the birthplace of NASCAR Daytona. It ends at the home of ARCA 7 months later, and it all comes down to these 100 miles. Who joins the elite club? The club that has Frank Kimmel, the Justins, Lofton and Allgaier, the Ties, Gibbs and Dillon. You have 100 miles to find out. So much on the line. We are so excited to bring it to you today here on MAV TV. They are racing in Toledo. Daniel Dye with a great launch on the outside line with Taylor Gray right behind. Can he lead a lap?
It's now a 1-point difference in the championship. It's that easy. Lead a lap, you get a point. Jesse Love, if he leads a lap, that's a point. for the Owners' Championship lead.
Again, that 20 is racing for the Owners' Championship against the number 18 of Sammy Smith. He leads a lap right there. We're going to have your calculators out all day long. 1.1 position, 1 lap could make all the difference for both the Owners' Championship and the Series Championship. Daniel Dye in that 43 is racing the number 2 of Nick Sanchez for the driver's title.
Taylor Gray, that's how many laps it took him to get from the outside of row 2 on the start into 3rd on the inside line, getting around that black 44 of Enfinger. The 17 is Taylor Gray. We've seen that car a lot this year, but not in this livery. 17 on Gray's car. In tribute to Frank Kimmel, the 10-time ARCA champ and 10-time winner here at Toledo. Frank works on this race car. They said, we're doing something special. They made Frank speechless, which doesn't happen often, according to his wife, Donna, by unveiling this tribute scheme here this week to say, Frank, we owe it to you. We're going to Toledo. Let's do it right. Let's paint it up like your old ARCA championship car.
There you see the 2 of Nick Sanchez. Again, the driver racing for the championship. That's Sammy Smith in the 18, trying to give the owner's title to Kyle Busch Motorsports in their first year here in the ARCA Series.
Krista, the last thing these drivers did was an on-track autograph session. I talked to Sammy Smith as my last guy to talk to. He said, man, I need to get up front quick. I need to get to the lead. I need to get that point, he pretty much said without saying it. I need to find the lead quickly. He's led over half the laps he's completed this year in the ARCA Menards Series, and this is just the 2nd time, Krista, he's qualified outside the top 5 in all the races he's run this year.
And Sammy Smith in that 18 has already won some championships. He won the East Championship going back-to-back in the series for that. So he already has that. He has the Showdown Award as well.
Sioux Chief Showdown awards drivers within this series that tracks a mile and less and road courses, and he won that title outright by the sheer dominance he had this year. Didn't run all the races, but man, he's been good. 5 wins already this year in that 18 car.
But it is Jesse Love out front in that purple and white number 20, racing for Venturini Motorsports, also racing for the Owners' Championship.
Shannon Rush, the crew chief on this number 20, he's been in a championship fights before. Jesse Love, again, trying to prove what he has here in the ARCA Menards Series for Venturini Motorsports. He split the car this year with Corey Heim. Both look like they have a very solid future next year, racing full-time in auto racing.
It's almost like when you're watching your screen, you don't really know where to look because there's just so many battles and so much on the line in this race. Do you have some keys? Let's take a look, if we could, at Jim's keys for the race here at Toledo today.
Well, the eye on the prize is obvious. There are drivers racing for the Owners' Championship and the Drivers' Championship. How to race them, how to race together, how that 17 car, Taylor Gray, can factor in. He doesn't want to bump the 43 of Daniel Dye at any cost. Keep an eye on the prize. Also, you notice that yellow line on the inside of the racetrack? There's no apron pavement down there. Those left side tires, you can dance on that yellow line, but don't go below it. And you got to keep the left side tires nice and friendly, because if they get angry, they're on the car for the first 125 laps of this race. Last thing, corner exit. Getting on the gas as soon as you can. This track races almost like a circle. So if your car is a little bit off, going off the corner in turns 4 and 2, by the time you get to the opposite corner, the next one up, you might lose 2 or 3 seconds. I'm sorry, 2 or 3 tenths of a second based upon your corner exit speed. If you can't get off the gas, can't get on the gas early enough, your corner exit speed will be a big difference maker here in the later runs at Toledo Speedway.
And you can tell the speed as we take a look at that camera, just the speed that they have coming out of the corners. We talked about this is the home track for ARCA. There's a whole lot of history here. The very first ARCA race was in 1963, and no surprise to see Frank Kimmel, you mentioned him, having the 9 wins here.
Yeah, Iggy Katona won that first Toledo race. Frank Kimmel won his first ARCA race here in 1994. He won 79 races after that and now owns the all-time record. Iggy is second in the standings with 79 wins. So all the legends of the ARCA Menards Series throughout the entire history of this series have raced here at this track just a few miles from the home office for ARCA.
Daniel Dye in that 43, so much on the line for him, racing for a championship. Finds himself coming into this race 2 points behind Nick Sanchez in that number 2. Look at that 44. Oh, Grant Enfinger right up against that number 17 of Taylor Gray. But we know everyone's watching that number 2 of Nick Sanchez as well, Mike.
Yeah, just so much concern in the 2 camp earlier this afternoon. As we've talked about, they had to change motors just before practice. Matt Bucher, the crew chief, found the problem just moments before practice was to occur. He told me they found a foreign substance, perhaps some debris inside the engine just before practice happened. The motor would not work if they had gone out there. They're lucky they found it when it did, but they spent the entire day moving the motor from the backup motor into the car. And then even just an hour before this race started, Matt Bucher was still looking at the old motor, trying to find out and understand exactly what happened. Now, as for the car itself, without any practice laps on it, Nick has not said anything yet. Feels very comfortable, according to his PR person so far.
Well, Nick Sanchez started 8th, moved up to 6th, but look at that. That's the battle for 3rd, and it goes to Grant Enfinger in that 44, a former ARCA Series champion.
Grant's raced her 8 times, but the last time he raced anything in ARCA was here in 2018. It was a one-off. Great move by Grant, getting position on Taylor Gray. He now races behind Daniel Dye. This number 44 car has come out of the GMS racing shops. Daniel Dye's raced that car this year at Milwaukee, at Phoenix. And they got the car shook down for Grant. I said, did they bring your seat? He said, no, we got an insert though. So he's very comfortable in these cars. As the 2015 champion, also won as recently as 2017 in the ARCA Menards Series while racing full-time in the NASCAR trucks at the highest level, racing again for a championship.
Well, 21 laps completed. Have we already seen possibly a nominee for the Reese's sweet move of the race with that move that the 44 Grant Enfinger just put on here on the track? Let's take a look at the auto park it replay. Here's the pass.
Inside position on Taylor Gray. Taylor had to give it to him. In 3 and 4, there's grip there, but for how long? And Taylor moved up the track just a little bit. Great clean racing. Grant Enfinger, great pass. That was a Reese's Sweet Move nomination for sure.
Back up front, Jesse Love in that number 20 for Venturini Motorsports.
Shout out to good to see Jeffrey Mack Zink in the field in the 65. Had an issue in qualifying, missed practice. Good to see him here. The short tracker out of Brownstown, Michigan.
Take you back through the field a little bit. Look at that battle between 43 Daniel Dye. That's his teammate, number 44 Grant Enfinger. Both cars looking good early. Daniel Dye right where he started. He started the race on the front row in the 2nd position.
The Grant Enfinger knows how to win championships in ARCA. In 2014, he lost the championship. The year before, he won one. Came down to the last couple of races of the year. And he knows exactly where Daniel Dye's position is. And I don't believe Grant Enfinger is going to do anything to cost Daniel the championship or make it hard for the 2 team. I really don't. But it's a position on the racetrack with a really fast race car that could take a point away sheer by performance rather than any other issue. And Grant's such a good dude, I don't think he'd do anything to make that difference in the championship. But man, Daniel Dye's got a good teammate behind him, a little more comfort for that driver second in points.
Mike, what can you add on the teammate story?
And just adding to what Jim just alluded to, Enfinger is certainly not going to hurt his teammates' championship hopes. He's only going to help them. In fact, Daniel Dye told me earlier today, because he has such limited time here at the track, he's never raced here before, he said he's lucky to have Enfinger here. He's leaned on him to gain his knowledge about the racetrack, gain a little bit of insight as to how to get around here the quickest way, and that's been incredibly valuable so far.
It's fun to watch them out there. Grant Enfinger, of course, still racing for a championship of his own in the NASCAR Truck Series.
And Daniel Dye, growing up in Daytona Beach, also got a chance to befriend Mark Martin, the NASCAR Hall of Famer. He's asked him for help over the course of the season and managing different racetracks. He called him this week, talked about managing the championship, and Mark gave him some really good, solid advice saying you need to do what you need to do, manage what you can, and Daniel Dye is certainly calling every resource he can to make sure he's best prepared for the run today, now currently in 2nd.
Daniel Dye chasing that car, the number 20, driven by Jesse Love, another young kid, 17 years old, but already having such a strong future in the sport and the success that he's had here in the ARCA Series.
He's going to get some more dirt racing in this year in a midget. He's also maybe eyeballing the Chili Bowl. It's around his birthday, so he turns 18 in January. Love to see him back here in ARCA Menards Series next year, maybe even more than he has this year. Be great to see for Venturini to get this young driver a full season in that 20.
Well, someone who is 18 years old is the driver chasing that 20. Daniel Dye in the 43. He is also our Bounty Rookie Spotlight driver as he races for the championship today. And what a tear, really, he's been on these last couple of months, just sort of chipping off the points a little bit into Nick Sanchez. And Raja Karuth was up there through most of the season as well, but just having a great run, Daniel Dye.
We're into the 20th race of the year. The last 13 races, Daniel Dye's worst finish is 7th. I'm telling you, he's been really, really consistent. He doesn't have those 3 wins and those bonus points that came with it. That's the difference right now for that team.
Grant Enfinger, the 37-year-old, definitely a veteran when you talk about these teenagers. He's back in the ARCA series today. Said loves being here, really excited to come out and play. It's a truck series off weekend, so he said, why not? There's Taylor Gray with our Reese's camera on board the 17. We talked about the paint scheme on the outside. Let's talk about the driver and the inside of that machine, Jim.
Yeah, Taylor Gray has actually had a chance to race here 3 separate times at the Toledo Speedway before this weekend. He finished 3rd, 11th, and 5th last year, so he ran twice here in 2020 when the series visited 3 times. So good to see that experience coming forward now with Chad Johnston at the controls last year and this year with that 17 team.
And we've seen him in victory lane a few times already this season in 2022. He's been there a lot, but not as much as the driver in that number 18, Sammy Smith. Sammy Smith has won 5 times this year. Oh, look at this. Back up front, Daniel Dye chasing down, going after Jesse Love. Jesse Love has a whole lot of Daniel Dye in that 43 in his rearview mirror.
Amber Slagle in that number 42 is the car. They're putting a lap down. She's had some time here. She actually raced a late model Sportsman here, so she knows how to hold her line and does a nice job with the leader streaming past her early on here at Toledo. She's now a lap down. Oh, she's inside and in trouble.
42 spinning off of 4 on down the front stretch. Able to get it turned around straight. Caution is out here in Toledo. Our first caution of the day comes out on lap 38 of 200. Jesse Love continues to lead. The championship is on the line here in Toledo. What a season it has already been in the ARCA Menards Series 2022. So many great moments from young drivers, veteran drivers, near misses, short tracks, road courses, dirt tracks, and more. And it all comes down to what happens today in Toledo. That number 20 of Jesse Love racing for the Owners' Championship, the 43 racing for the driver's title against Nick Sanchez. Jim, can we dial him up?
Hey, Nick Sanchez, Jim Toledo in the MAV TV booth. Thanks to the Racing Electronic folks. I can talk to you right now. What's been the first 40 laps like on the racetrack today, knowing these are the first 40 you've had all day?
Yeah, I think the pace in our car is a little bit better than I expected, so that's positive. But just got to fine-tune in this break and try to be there at the end.
With a limited amount of laps, now you've got another plan here. You're already talking, I heard you off air about your strategy. What do you want to change on the car to get it even handling better?
Yeah, I think, my guys are going to work on freeing us up a little bit in the center, just a little bit more turn as the run goes on. But pleased with the number 2 Keithford Chevy, and hopefully we'll have something for them at the end.
Thanks for your time, Nick. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And some of the things he was alluding to there didn't get a lot of practice time because they had to make the engine change, if you didn't see at the beginning of the show talking about that. So he was able to jump in his teammate Raja Cruz's car for a little bit, but didn't have laps in this car. In the car that he is racing for the title, he is currently 6th on the track, but the driver that he's racing against for the title is up at 2nd.
And there are so many questions about how is that car going to handle. We just got that answer. And how Taylor Gray's going to handle the racetrack? Well, he's got some influences. He actually at Salem Speedway got a chance to talk to several people here at Toledo Speedway. Why not go down the row in the shop and talk to Frank Kimmel? Frank's a mechanic on this car. He's been here all weekend. He's been here all season as a mechanic with David Gilliland Racing. He runs the jack on pit stops. So that paint scheme is more than a tribute to Frank. It's probably a thank you as well, because Taylor Gray, as young as he is, yes, it's his 3rd time here at Toledo Speedway, or 4th now, but think about this. That tribute is also saying, Frank, thanks for all the involvement, the little touches that Frank Kimmel has brought to this team after the years and championships he's run.
There he is.
10 times he's won this race as a driver. There he's on the box there with talking to Chad Johnston. He's probably got a fire suit underneath all those clothes, I'm guessing. He's been doing pit stops this year as well with the team.
He could jump right in. He is the GOAT, if you will, when it comes to the ARCA Menards Series. So many wins, so much history, and some of these young teenagers, they know. When they see him, they know how important he is, but especially important to Taylor Gray and that number 17. There you see him on the outside behind Daniel Dye. It's Jesse Love up front as they are racing again in Toledo.
Putting a period on Frank. He's been generous with everybody who asks questions, not just his teammates. He's been so kind to the drivers that have come through ARCA over the years, including this season as well. Right there in the mix is drivers on the outside of row 2. That's where Taylor Gray started. He got position on Grant Enfinger, got it back under a long green run. Get what you can get right now, boys. Here we go off of turn 2.
And they are 2 by 2 off of 2. The 20 of Jesse Love, the 43 of Daniel Dye, each racing for a championship. Daniel Dye was able to get the edge on that lap. He's now going to try to earn the most laps led if he can, but right now Jesse Love is back out front. But yes, both racing for a title today, because Jesse Love in the 20 is going after the owner's title, the 43 Daniel Dye racing for the championship here in Toledo.
I've got 3 pencils and a big pencil sharpener. We're keeping track. There's another point on the line, bonus points. There's 5 remaining today. 1 is for leading a lap, 1 more is for leading the most laps, and the winner of the race gets 3 additional. We already know who won the General Tire poll, so the 6 bonus points available. Daniel Dye, if he's able to lead more laps than any other car, will get an additional championship point, as will the number 20 if he leads the most. It's down to this. It's down to these positions, down to these magical split-second moments. As Daniel Dye led that 1 lap, that means everything in terms of how many laps he can lead. If it's the most, it's one more point to a championship.
And you talked about the fact that Jesse Love has been so fast, has won the General Tire Pole Award a handful of times. I don't know if any pole award is more important than the one today because of that point that you talked about that he was able to get and close up to a tie with Sammy Smith racing for that Owners Championship. Taking a look here, though, at the Driver Championship, look at all of the top fives that Daniel Dye has. Nick Sanchez has the wins, so you really could make a case for either one of them.
Those 3 wins are 9 championship bonus points because you get 3 more than the rest of the field every time you win, so that's really the difference. He's got 15 bonus points this year to Daniel Dye's 4 heading into this race.
Nick Sanchez has been so strong at the big tracks this year. We're at Toledo, a half mile, so we'll have to see what happens. But here's that other title that they're racing for, Kyle Busch Motorsports. His driver is Sammy Smith. Sammy came in with that 1-point lead over the 20 for Venturini Motorsports, but as we said, Jesse Love winning the General Tire Pole Award evened things up coming into this.
Yeah, right now we're smack dab tied again in the 18 and the 20 teams. They raced all year with 2 different drivers sharing the seat. 3rd and 4th, the owners' points. Those are our drivers that have been in the same car all year. They're separated by 2 points, the owners' points as well. Every point earned goes towards the driver's standings as well as the owners, so all 20 races are factored in to the owners' championship, and that's close as well for 3rd.
And look, talk about close. Look at these 2 on the track. The 17 of Taylor Gray in 4th, trying to take the position away from Grant Enfinger, and it looks like he's able to do it.
Sammy Smith put his nose in there for good reason. He saw a little bit of an opening as Enfinger has moved up the racetrack. A little bit of contact there, just trying to get position in turn 3. Entering into 3 and getting on the gas in turn 4. You can't afford to push up. You can't afford to not be on the gas pedal. So as he went through that corner, Enfinger did a really smart move, I thought, and said, you know what, if you want that spot, it's better for you to go ahead of me by turn 4 than have a race another half a lap or so, and that could cost them a lot of time and a lot of speed.
They're going to make a race break in about 20 laps, so they have to hold on to whatever they have for about 20 more laps before they can come in, talk to their team, talk to their crew chief, and make some changes. Grant Enfinger in that 44, we don't normally get to see him, but fans of the ARCA Menards series have seen him quite a bit. He's won races, he's won championships, and it's nice to have him back, at least for the day. He's a
Taylor
teammate.
Gray's on a tear right here, Krista. Man, is he coming strong in that 17.
I just was watching the hands of Daniel Dye in that 43, sort of sawing at the wheel with Taylor Gray right behind.
2nd and 3rd on the racetrack. Taylor Gray, a really low stance there. Man, he's almost digging the infield. He made that car pivot off the left front under that yellow line for turn 4. Nice job keeping that car square.
He was able to point and pivot. The 17 gets the position around Daniel Dye.
Dye is now back to 3rd. Taylor Gray has got the spot. Yet to earn a championship point towards their championship, respectively. Sammy Smith, he's back there in 4th. Nick Sanchez still sits 6th as our point leader in the Drivers' Championship.
Taking a look at an auto park it replay. This was Grant Enfinger. You talked about that move that he was able, kind of, you said strategy, really smart move, letting Taylor Gray sort of take that position.
And it started turn 4. It takes a long time to set someone up for a pass here. That turn 4, a little bit of a nudge off of 4 on the bottom. Taylor turned under, got on the gas, pulled even, and right here in turn 4, a whole lap later, Grant knew he did not have anything for the drive the 17 car out from the middle of the corner off and gave him the spot. As Taylor earned it, I shouldn't say it was given easily.
And taking a look at our scoring, Sammy Smith has been able to get by Grant Enfinger as well. So Sammy Smith is now up to 4th on the racetrack in that number 18.
Kept it even there. And here he is racing his teammate, number 43. Again, the 44 is owned by Jeff McClure. That number's on the door for a car that's, again, out of the GMS racing shops with the 43 of Daniel Dye as his teammate here for this final race of 2022. I wouldn't say he's pulling over, though. Grant Enfinger wants everything out of his race car he could possibly get to win a race. He's here to win the race. Yeah, I'm going to help his teammate. Did a lot of conference calls. I'm sure he sat down with him, watched a lot of film together. But Grant loves to win races. He's won 16 of them here in the ARCA series.
And we're going to need a larger television screen to put up Sammy Smith's titles as he continues to just sort of collect different contingency awards, titles. He's already won the Busch East Championship.
And we're in the baseball postseason now. Sammy's batting 600 in laps led versus laps completed here. 60% of the laps he's closing in on, leading here in ARCA in the races he's run. It's been an amazing season. Led over 1,000 laps
Yeah, the ARCA Menards East Championship, going back-to-back in that. As we continue to watch Sammy Smith on the track, now currently running third, going after Jesse Love because they're racing for the owner's title. We have to wonder what's happening with Daniel Dye. Daniel Dye back to fifth. Daniel Dye racing for the the driver's championship against Nick Sanchez. And the caution is out at lap 66 of 200 laps completed. Jesse Love out front in that 20, Taylor Gray behind. Those are two 17-year-olds on the racetrack, but the caution is out on lap 66. That's our second caution of the day. Haven't even gotten to a race break yet. That's still coming up in just under 10 laps.
A lot of tire smoke in turns 1 and 2. I think a car looped it and continued before I get a chance to ID who it was to bring out that caution.
Mike, we've been talking about the 43. What's happening with Daniel Dye?
You've seen him slip back just a little bit. The car's not exactly what he wants it to be at this time. They're coaching him a little bit on the way he's arcing through the corners. They're looking at Grant and seeing how he's arcing the corner. And they notice that Daniel is going just a little bit too high. They want to bring him down a little bit as he arcs that turn. Also, just a little bit too free in turn 3.
Okay, we'll see if, again, that race break is coming in about 8 laps. So Daniel Dye probably going to make some adjustments or talk to his team to see if he can make up some ground. Because right now he still has a 1-position advantage on Nick Sanchez, the driver he's racing for the championship. But Nick Sanchez comes in with the 2-point advantage. So if bonus points, just take bonus points out of it, Daniel Dye needs to finish 3 positions higher on the racetrack today or win the race. Win the race and the points don't matter. You win the championship. So much pressure for an 18-year-old. For all of these teenagers.
He was going full-time this year. He ran a handful of races last year, and now he's paired with Chad Bryant, who's won here twice at Toledo Speedway as a car owner. Car owner, he was car owner, but crew chief-wise, he's got 2 wins here in a bunch of laps with a bunch of different drivers. He's won here with Chase Briscoe and Dalton Sargent. But his experience has paid a lot of dividends. But getting on the same page, Daniel Dye and Chad Bryant, Chad wants him to move forward in a certain direction. Daniel Dye still learning. Again, these are a lot of new racetracks. Just that handful of last year and a lot of late models and super lates before that. As after racing them across the country in quarter midgets, that's a big step to take to his home track Daytona to start the season. You heard him refer to it earlier in the broadcast. Getting the chance just to drive there was a big treat. But getting a chance to race for a championship, it's huge.
It is, and Nev's never raced here. This is his first time racing at Toledo, so much to think about when you talk about the pressure. But he also seemed very calm coming in. Almost said he liked the position he was in, sort of trying to chase down Nick Sanchez. He started second today. Daniel Dye currently 5th on the racetrack. Nick Sanchez right behind in 6th.
Yeah, they chased up to see the Detroit Red Wings play last night in Detroit. Just kind of a break from what was going on in terms of what can you think about leading into the race today. A little break in the action there for that as well.
It's our Reese's onboard camera, Taylor Gray.
So the Reese's wrappers that we'll see on Halloween all over, they kind of look like the car today, don't they? The factory canopies paint job is kind of that orangish label of the Reese's. Maybe? No? Yes?
Well, a little bit of a stretch, but anytime you bring in chocolate, I'm in. I'm on board.
Okay.
Getting ready to go green flag back in the air in Toledo. Jesse Love and Taylor Gray out front.
Great launch by Jesse in that Yahoo Toyota, man. What a good run on the inside. Look at the distance he's got already. Maybe you knew Sammy Smith was lined up on the inside on that restart and really had to get going, knowing how great Sammy's been. Not just good, but great this season in the ARCA Menards Series in that 18.
Yeah, Jesse Love continuing to put the distance out ahead of Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray. You talk about the future of racing with Jesse Love, Taylor Gray, Sammy Smith. These are teenagers, all with success, all getting into victory lane this year.
Taylor Gray tried to keep the outside, try to maintain that spot, but not enough. The TMC Toyota as Sammy Smith is coming. Smith has fought his way up to second now.
When we talk about those bonus points, Sammy Smith wants to get up front so he can lead a lap. We already know he can lead a whole lot of them, has led a whole lot of them on the season. But try and get back up front, he can get by Jesse Love and lead that lap. That's big. Look at this.
Some serious tire wear. This auto parker replay. Look how strong Sammy pours it in the corner and stays even. And look how much Taylor just fights it and stabs the gas in that Mustang on the backstretch. They brushed there briefly.
but knowing this race break is coming, you know, if they're wearing out their tires, they are going to get to come into the pits here in just a lap.
Great camera work, man. That auto park replay shows you something. These guys are after every inch on the racetrack, not every position.
Is that a Reese's sweet move?
To save it, yeah. These are really free cars when they enter the corner, man. You could probably push it over in the left rear quarter panel and spin it out. At the way these cars are set up to go into the corner and dive hard with that weight transfer to the right front.
Well, the caution is out. That is not for debris, not for an incident. That is our race break, the first of 2 scheduled race breaks here today in Toledo.
So the teams only have 6 tires in the pits. So we mentioned that tire management. We mentioned about how much you can make the right sides angry, keep the left sides happy. They might be able to take a tire pressure adjustment on the left side tires, but you can't change those lefts. Likely the teams will just keep those 4 tires for the next race break at lap 125 to change all 4.
We've already heard drivers saying, I think I'm going to free it up. I need to get a little more free. We're going to get you back to Toledo. Full house today.
When it comes to race day snacks,
Fans are here getting a race. They had a marching band earlier today. This is the Bedford High School Marching Band. Bedford, home of the Kicking Mules. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
That's how I spend my commercial breaks, looking up mascots. The Kicking Mules in Temperance, Michigan.
I was in the marching band. I'm a big fan of marching bands. 80 strong here today, performing before the race.
That was awesome. Fans certainly enjoying that. Right now, teams working on their cars during this race break. That number 43 racing for the title, Daniel Dye taking on Nick Sanchez. Both racing for the championship.
My first full-time year at ARCA, I mean, we've had a good year. Haven't won yet. Hopefully, you know, we can make that happen today and win the championship.
It's just cool to think, you know, the whole year, you know, all the ups and downs, kind of find ourselves here. So it would be great to end the year on a high note like that.
You know, racing for the championship at Toledo is going to be good for what we're used to. You know, Chad's been short track racing for a long time. I've been short track racing, you know, my whole career, you know, only a couple of years, but got to pounce on this opportunity and hopefully come out here with a championship.
I feel like we always knew big tracks were going to be our wheelhouse, and I think we capitalized on it to, you know, almost to the best of our abilities. So, you know, we just need to improve on the short tracks, and I know me and my team are going to try to do that.
To be able to say that you won the ARCA Menards Series championship is obviously going to help. Anytime you're a champion of anything, obviously that's something that's going to raise your stock a little bit. So I think if we could win the championship, that would obviously be quite a bit of help moving into the future of my career.
You know, the championship's something that, you know, no matter where you go in the sport, it's always going to be with you. But at the same time, you know, I think we've showed ourselves well this year, which, you know, makes it even more satisfying if we could close this out, because this hasn't been like a fluke of a year for us. You know, we've gotten wins, we've competed up front, and, you know, this is kind of like the last box to check.
They came into this race just 2 points apart. They are currently 5th and 6th on the racetrack. Nick Sanchez, 21 years old, Daniel Dye, 18. Both hail from the state of Florida from opposite ends. They grew up 4 hours apart. They have just a few more laps here. One race decides the championship. When you come to Toledo Speedway, you could walk to that Menards home improvement store right there on Alexis Road.
And they had a big fan fest yesterday. 8 or 10 teams had their haulers out in the parking lot. Fans got to walk amongst them. Teams got to do a little bit of work. It was great to see. And that Menards, not just because it's close to this Speedway, but every market we go to, there's a Menards store. And in our surrounding area, they offer discounted race tickets to the fans leading into every race. So congratulations to Menards and their involvement, integration here with the ARCA Menards Series.
Mike, what have you learned during that race break?
Notice that one of the championship contenders, Nick Sanchez, elected not to pit. Stayed out on the racetrack. His crew chief with us right now. Why did you elect to do that?
Well, the 43's got a jump on us there at the beginning of the race and got a point for leading the lap. So you got to kind of even that up. There's not a lot of gap there. You know, there's a lot of fast cars that can get in between us here later on in the run. So we just took the time to lead an easy one here under the caution, and we'll go race like hell at the end of it here.
Green flag's coming back out. Good luck.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Another big swing. Matt Booker talking about the 43 and the advantage he has. Daniel Dye's the last car you'll see through that speed shot. He had to get a push to get restarted. He gave up his 5th restart spot. He's at the back of the field in the 43. Huge difference maker. This restart could be everything for the number 2 of Nick Sanchez. Get what he can.
Mike.
They told me no power. The car just shut off, and obviously it's refired, but certainly a major problem there at the restart.
So if I'm keeping track, the 43 no power had to get the push down on power. Nick Sanchez stays out, doesn't pit for the tires, but he isn't able to lead the lap. Jesse Love leads that lap. Daniel Dye's back in 15th. The whole race has broken wide open right now.
And we also saw Sammy Smith trying to get what he could get on the restart and was not able to grab the lead away from early race dominator Jesse Love.
So Jesse Love still out front, racing for the Owners' Championship, but Sammy Smith is coming. You see him there in that black number 18 with the gold numbers. He is currently running third. Nick Sanchez stayed out, didn't come in for the tires. He's fifth on the track. He is racing Daniel Dye, who's back in 15th.
So last race, I asked Sammy Smith this morning, I said, last race at Salem Speedway, you led every lap. But this was a similar situation. We came on lap 75 and 125 for our race breaks. He said, we didn't change anything. But I know in a couple races this year, in this middle section, when we have 2 race breaks in these longer runs, Sammy Smith has direct input on what he wants to change in that race car, and it's not fired off the way he wanted. He's lost now 3 spots on this restart. In that black 18, he's back to 4th. He lined up on the front row on this restart.
Raja Caruth running 5th, trying to hold off the 15 of Landon Pembleton for Venturini Motorsports. And look at Landon Pembleton make the move around Raja Caruth.
Landon's done a really nice job. Just his third ARCA Menards Series race began at Elko, ran Milwaukee. Top 10s in both. The third at Elko, a 6th at Milwaukee for that young driver who really put his name on the map by winning the Martinsville 300 last fall in a late model stock big race.
Yeah, another 17-year-old from Amelia, Virginia.
Hope to see him a few more times this year as well. Coming into next year, I asked Venturini a bunch of questions. Billy's been generous in saying we may have 4 full-time teams. We hope to have Landon back with us. We hope to have Jesse Love back with us for a lot of runs next year. Connor Jones as well, a young driver, has been really impressive with his team as well
Here's
this
some
season.
Young drivers out on the track as we're keeping our eye on Nick Sanchez in that number 2. Nick Sanchez currently 7th on the track. Daniel Dye was 15th. He's up to 14th.
Running 9th right there, the 73 of Andy Jankowiak. Great to see that car. Those colors, he debuted at Bristol. Those are the colors of his mom, Debbie. Debbie raced this car. She was a super stock racer at growing up. Andy's father, Tony, passed away when Andy was just 2 years of age. He said, Mom's my racing hero. I love going to school saying, my mom drives race cars. She really does well. So his hero is on this race car. It's his mom, Debbie's paint scheme, her number, the way the car looked when she raced at Lancaster Motorplex back in the day. And he was just cheering her on, and it's a great tribute to her as Andy J is back here. Just the 3rd time in a short track at ARCA. The other 2 starts have been at Bristol.
Yeah, he finished 8th at Bristol. Moms are so cool. That's awesome. What a great story. 34 years old from New York. Love having him here in the ARCA Series. And doing a great job in 9th on the racetrack.
Got a local connection with Mad Ave Group, a sponsor, marketing company that he's worked with, based right here in Toledo. Every sponsor on that race car helps him go racing because his full-time gig, delivering pizzas and putting the tips in a jar towards his racing budget.
Back up front, we are eyeing this battle for the lead. Jesse Love in the 20. Look at Taylor Gray. He is coming. Remember, he put that great, you called it a pivot move, almost did a pivot.
He did.
To get by for a position on the track a little earlier. Let's see if he's able to do that and time it out. Try to make the move on Jesse Love.
Loves wrapping the bottom. It's another term I love to use because that's really how they describe it. A lot of these drivers have 6-7 years of experience before they get to ARCA at age 15 on a very high level. So they talk about dissecting the corner or getting the bottom or wrap the bottom. That's how long you keep that left side tire on that yellow painted stripe on the inside. Jesse Love's been doing it for a long time. Taylor Gray's been doing it as well. He was at age 10, told his older brother Tanner, hey, let's go race it. Let's go race somewhere. So they raced dirt midgets on ovals at Millbridge Speedway where they moved from New Mexico to North Carolina. And Taylor's really proving he can race just about anything, anywhere, and done really well here this year, and 7 starts in the truck series as well for that young driver.
Watching Amber Balkin there. She qualified 7th. Amber currently running 10th on the racetrack. Talked about in the pre-race when you guys, everyone was down there for driver autographs. She was doing a little interview for the racetrack. Said she was really proud to be close to Canada. She's a Canadian driver here in Toledo, pretty close to the Canadian border. So she hoped there were some Canadian fans in the stands cheering her on today.
And it's really been the home track for her team co-owner, Terry Jones. He came from his home, over the border, if you will, outside Detroit in Ottawa, and he came here a lot and raced.
Incident on the track there. You see the 03, the 65, Greg Van Alsen, that 35, able to get by. The 03 is Alex Clubb from Morris, Illinois.
Alex in the 03, that sticker above the number is for Lee J. Hall, a driver he raced to a championship in 2012. Lee and his family, his wife and daughter, were taken in an automobile crash on October 2nd, and their funeral is today. So Alex took me aside and said, could you say something? We are there in sport and spirit with that family. He really wanted to do well here today in that 03 for Lee Hall and his family, suffering that loss of family members and a championship driver and their family coming home from a racetrack just a couple of days ago.
Well, we're certainly thinking of them. Glad we were able to talk about that, even though it's under these circumstances with this race incident for the 03 and the 65. Here's how it happened.
Jeffrey Mack Zink high on the racetrack, but look at the hood damage on the 35 of Van Alst. Van Alst must have got in the back of the 65, whether the one car out of shape, we didn't quite get that, but that damage comes from direct contact, whether one car was slower or unpredictable on the entry. Greg Van Alst is going to have some work to do here. He's going to chase for 5th in points right now. He's really close. He's only 11 or 12 points ahead of Tony Breidinger. He's right there in the mix with Sammy Smith in the overall points. That's a big deal for Greg Van Alst to finish strong in a top 5 run for him to return full-time to ARCA next year in that 35 car.
I know we talk about the championships, and we're focused a lot on the Owners' Championship and the Drivers' Championship. But yeah, all of these drivers racing for something. And when you talk about Greg Van Alst, to finish top 5 in points means so much for, we talk about the blue-collar team out of Anderson, Indiana, has to drive the truck himself to get here, and those trips aren't always easy.
No, on the way here, he actually blew a trailer tire, and he was actually coming to do an appearance at a high school, at a machine shop, the metal shop. They brought it to the area to go through a high school to spend the day. Blew the tire. 20 minutes later, he let Charlie Carl, the PR guy for the series, say, I won't be able to make it as soon as I thought because we now have a wheel bearing fire in the hauler. So that was just on the way here. So not even sleeping to get the car ready. Now you're driving here. You got all these issues. Yes, he showed up at the high school. Yes, he showed up at the Menards Fan Fest with that car to fulfill his obligations yesterday.
We talked about the Fan Fest that was going on at the Menards store just down the road. We talked about the autograph session that happened here at the track. But there was something else that was happening here, kind of as part of Championship Weekend that you were a part of, Jim.
Yeah, this is the banquet room in the Speedway Bar and Grill right behind turn 4 here. And there are a number of champions were brought up. That's Ron Keselowski, Bob's brother, crew chief owner, 1989 champion. That's Ralph Young. He was the crew chief for Benny Parsons in 68 and 69 when he won the championship. And the last word went to Frank Kimmel. Among the champions honored, Gary Boucher, Bobby Boucher, Andy Hillenberg, the Venerini, Scott Stovall. They were all in the room. Larry LeMay. Great moments there for owners, drivers, and crew chiefs that had been champions in ARCA that could make the event last night. It was fun to be in that room with them.
And it does kind of make it feel like a championship weekend. It's not just the race, all the events tied into it. For these fans that are here, it's a great crowd here at Toledo. This is the home of ARCA. You know, this is where they come out for late model races, but they love to have the ARCA series back here and finishing the season here with so much on the line.
Yeah, I raced the race once, twice a year. We ran here 3 times in 2020. This really has become the racetrack that has proven to be the championship race. 2008, who can forget that? If you have a chance, check out YouTube, but I can tell you right now, it came down to a championship between Scott Speed and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., one of the most talked about finishes in a series championship race. They got involved. Stenhouse crashed Speed. Speed went out and took out Stenhouse, said, if I can't win, you can't win. They both crashed out. That gave the championship to Justin Allgaier, and that really propelled him with Team Penske on through to race full-time as a professional racer in NASCAR.
Well, we hope we don't have a finish like that, but we've already had some issues with the 43. Let's listen in what happened. Mike, that was on that restart after that race break.
Yeah, and ordinarily, something like that in a championship race, you would expect it would kind of shake a driver up, but not for Daniel Dye. He's remained composed over the radio just moments ago. His conversation with his crew chief, Chad Bryant, very calm and collected, although he was informed that Nick Sanchez did gain a bonus point by leading a lap.
We'll see what happens here as the green flag is back out at Toledo. Jesse Love able to get out in front of Taylor Gray, but will he be out there for long? This has been the battle for this race out front, the 20, the 17. Now put Grant Enfinger in that mix in third in that number 44.
98 laps left in this season. Cautions out on the racetrack.
Oh, there's a mess there in turn 3. Toledo kind of famous for those foam blocks that line the track. We saw that number 65, Jeffrey McZink, involved in the incident with the 03 of Alex Club just a few laps ago. That's Jeffrey right there in that 65.
That's hard impact. He hit the right front and right rear into the foam barriers. A lot of foam being strewn about, but in reality, that could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse if those foam barriers weren't there. And Toledo Speedway's done a great job installing those barriers a number of years ago. They've got a great crew here. They know how to clean up. They know how to pick up. It's going to be a short caution, but unfortunately for Jeffrey, it looks like it's going to be more than just get to the pits and fix it. I think that window net's coming down. It's a lot of damage. You can't really tell because those composite bodies from 5-star stock car bodies can be generous in hiding the damage, but look at the rear quarter panel. It's torn away. It's pushed over. Right front's knocked out of it too. Man, what a rough break for the driver running part-time this year out of Michigan.
Yeah, 44 years old from Brownston, Michigan. Had trouble in qualifying as well, so definitely not the day that he wanted. Qualifying takes place just a few hours actually before the race. ARCA does a great job, the racetrack, Toledo Speedway, and the ARCA Menards series of putting on a great one-day show for these fans. They get to watch a practice, qualifying, and a 200-lap race as Jeffrey climbs out of the race car. Yellow flag is out. We have passed the halfway point. Jesse Love continues to lead over Taylor Gray. Taking a look at our mid-race recap from Richmond Water Heaters, brought to you by Jesse Love on the pole. But wow, Daniel Dye gave him a run for his money early, but Jesse Love able to stretch that lead out.
Daniel got the lead early, as in the first lap. Then Jesse's taken over. And Taylor Gray's been strong, coming forward. He started 4th, but he's been really in the hunt. Top 3, running second, running hard. There's a pass for second a little bit ago.
Yeah, and then we saw this incident here. This was the one we were just talking about with Alex Club, Jeffrey McZink. And we're watching that battle because we saw Daniel Dye had some trouble with the restart after the mid-race break. Nick Sanchez didn't pit. Those are the true drivers racing for the title. The red flag is out as the track workers you talked about really good at cleaning all this up. They'll get it cleaned up quickly.
Yeah, we have additional ARCA officials, not only because they work here at the sanctioned track. This is an ARCA-owned track. Actually, Ron Drager owns this racetrack as well as Flat Rock Speedway. These team guys, though, they come here and they train. This is the home of ARCA, so they have meetings. And to get this repaired, those guys and gals wearing the official uniforms, they're doing a great job getting this racetrack back in order in no time.
And it is the season finale, so our thanks to all of the ARCA Menards Series officials, everyone who puts this great racing on and has for you here on MAV TV all season long. We'll come back to Toledo Speedway for the second half of this race right after this.
This MAV TV Motorsports Network broadcast is brought to you by Sioux Chief, America's manufacturer of plumbing, drainage, supply, and support products. Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive. Sprecher Brewing Company, Milwaukee's original craft brewery. And by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Reese's, not sorry.
Welcome back to Toledo Speedway. If you are just joining us for the second half of this 200-lap race, there is a lot going on. As you see, we are under caution. Actually, we're under a red flag for cleanup, under caution here in Toledo. Let's find out what's going on down there with some of our contenders. Mike, who do you have?
Yeah, and one is certainly Daniel Dye, although he has to overcome some adversity right now. His crew chief, Chad Bryant. What are you telling him after the lack of power there on the restart? Now he has to come from the back to the front.
We definitely dug ourselves a hole. Biggest thing is just keeping him calm and executing. We still have a good race car, have a good piece. Got our work cut out for us for sure. It's really hard to pass here today with the cooler weather and whatnot. The track's got so much grip, but we got to let it play out. It's going to be what it's going to be.
Just like Chad said, they've got their work cut out for them. They've got a car that Daniel says is a little bit more secure. They made a shock change on the left rear during that last break, and it's given him a car he's a little bit more comfortable driving. He just has to get from the back to the front, like we said, so still a little bit of work to do.
Okay, we look forward to watching that. Daniel Dye will roll off 11th when we go back green flag racing as we continue to turn laps here under caution. Let's see if we can dial up a driver. Jim?
Hey, Roger Caruth, Jim Toledo in the MAV TV booth. You're sitting 6th right now. How's that car feeling, knowing you've got a few more laps before you can get another set of tires on that thing?
Hey, Jim. This Max Siegel and Cambridge Chevy fires off really tight, but it gets better as the run goes. So just looking for long runs here, but feeling great in my Butler built seat and Gonna do my best to do my job for one more time this year with Rip.
With this being your first time here at the racetrack, your expectation has been met or exceeded on what you're feeling behind the seat of this really fast racetrack on this half mile?
Well, Jim, honestly, I haven't been to any of the racetracks we've been to this year before, so to be honest, it's nothing different, nothing new, and puts emphasis on me doing homework during the week and executing on race day.
Hey, we wish you well. Thanks for your time.
We got double waves there. He waved at you when you started that interview. Waved to us goodbye.
And the great thing about Rajah, he's honest. He's never going to be sugarcoating. He's going to tell you what you're asking. He's really upfront about it. And he said, man, I didn't even see this place when I saw him at sign-in this morning. So it's great to see how he's adapting to it, learning, developing. That's all what the series is about. He and his dad, Roger, are here once again. His dad's been to a bunch of races this year. And for him to be an iRacing kid, to get a chance at Rev Racing just 3 years ago, to be in this position to finish third in the points, great job, Rajah, in 2022 in that number 16 for Max Siegel.
Yeah, 20 years old out of Washington, D.C. Didn't start at 10 years old, the way you're talking about maybe Taylor Gray. Jumped in a little late, so new to some of these racetracks, but really racing for nothing but the win today. He said, why not? Let's go out. He had a good summer stretch, a lot of top fives. It's really been fun to get to know him this year in the ARCA series. So get ready to take you back to green flag racing. We've got Taylor Gray in that number 17 and Jesse Love on the front row. Sammy Smith and Grant Enfinger right behind. Jesse Love, another great launch. He's really been strong on the restarts.
Sammy Smith was desperate on that restart. He was actually pushing the rear bumper of the 17 of Taylor Gray as they lined up outside rows 1 and 2 on that restart. Sammy wanted to get Taylor out front. He wanted to get a position. That black 18 car has yet to lead a lap, and that's a big difference because the number 20 of Jesse Love has locked up the most laps led. He's now guaranteed himself 2 of those 6 bonus points this year. That means he's got a 1-point advantage now on Sammy Smith. If the race ended now, they'd be the owner's champions in that 20 team.
They're trying to give that title to Venturini. Bill Venturini and Venturini Motorsports owns that number 20. Kyle Busch Motorsports owns that number 18.
And here we are riding along with the point leader in the driver's points. Nick Sanchez, look what he has to do here. He's like, okay, do I push it? Do I worry about what line I'm in? I know Rajah will give me room, but I need to get every spot I can in that number 2 car. He wants to get some bonus points before this is all said and done.
Nick Sanchez in that number 2 is 7th on the racetrack. The driver he's battling for the championship, Daniel Dye, is back in 12th. But we have seen how positions can change. Every position matters. Remember, Nick Sanchez came in with just a 2-point advantage.
Race break at lap 125. It's coming up in about a dozen laps or so, a little more than that, but in reality, these teams are now pushing the limit. They know they got 4 fresh tires. If they kept 4 on, I think everybody changed 2 on the first race break, so they have 4 new General tires in the pits. So push this car to the limit. See what it feels like with these worn-out tires. It'll be a 75-lap run to the finish after that last race break. If nothing, it causes the natural caution between 125 and the 200-lap distance.
This is the battle for third between Sammy Smith in the 18 and Grant Enfinger in the number 44. Sammy Smith has had a ton of success, 5 wins, but because he wasn't old enough to race some of the tracks early in the season, not racing for the title, he did wrap up the ARCA Menards East Series Championship and won at Bristol and won last weekend in Salem.
Great runs by Sammy Smith, 5 wins in the ARCA Menards Series and just 18 different starts. Just a great run this season. All but 1 race this year, finishing the top 5 in the races he's run. It's amazing to know how good that team's been with Sammy and Drew Dollar behind the wheel this year.
This is the battle for 9th. Daniel Dye in that 43. He is one of those title contenders. We told you that he started this run with being down on that power in 15th. He's currently up to 9th, so he is on the move. He's going after Nick Sanchez in 6th.
Jan Koyak's ahead of him, running in the 8th position. Again, this is just Andy's 3rd short track start in the ARCA Menards Series, but when it comes to the Race of Champions and modifieds at Lake Erie Speedway, he's been the king. He won the Sportsman and the Modified Touring Race of Champions last fall. A couple weeks ago, he went back there on Saturday, won the Sportsman race. He loves short track racing, just hasn't done it a lot here in the ARCA Menards Series.
Well, Daniel Dye able to get past Andy in that number 73, so Daniel Dye will now cross the line in the 8th position.
Every point matters, every position matters. Dye, again, desperately making his way forward. And that engine's literally shutting off. Picked up 4 spots here in the last few laps. He's on a run here.
He is our Bounty Rookie Challenge point leader as well. There's a whole nother battle going on, but Daniel Dye is a strong lead there over Rajah Caruth. But look at all these names that are rookies. Big names in the series.
Daniel Dye, a great season. We talked about the consistency. no victories yet, but this is the same race car he raced at Elko and Berlin and raced again last year to his only victory in the ARCA Menards Series at Berlin Raceway. They love this short track car in the GMS shop. This 43 now down the backstretch here at Toledo, trying to make his way forward. The car's good as long as it can run, man. That thing just shut off, and that's a big concern for these teams.
I know, as we watch the number 15 of Landon Pembleton and Nick Sanchez, you look back at Daniel Dye's numbers through September and October: 3rd, 4th, 4th, 5th, 3rd. He is Mr. Top 5 here the last couple of months.
Sanchez on the short track says the worst average finish, but in reality, he's done very well. Top 10 runs consistently in the second half of the season on short tracks. Talked to his crew chief, Matt Booker, this morning. He said, we went to Motor Mile Speedway, close to the shop, to get some short track laps, just to get that mindset for both these drivers, the 2 and the 6, the Red Racing teammates this year. Got some practice time in recently.
Well, we are just 3 laps away from another race break, and I think that's what Nick Sanchez may be wanting. Remember, they played a little strategy on that last race break, staying out, able to maybe get that lap or at least stay up front. Right now, Nick Sanchez is running 6th.
And Daniel Dye right there on the back bumper, the 6 of Rajah Caruth. Ahead of him is the 2 of Nick Sanchez. So he's closed within 2 positions of Sanchez now in this late run in this second segment.
All eyes are on the middle of this pack. Yeah, we're watching the battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, because those are where the title contenders are currently running. There you see Nick Sanchez in that 2. He is racing for this first ARCA Menards Series championship. So is the number 43 of Daniel Dye, and sandwiched between them, Nick's teammate Rajah Caruth in that number 6. Look at Daniel Dye pull up alongside Rajah Caruth. He wants that position. He's going after 7th on the racetrack.
Another reason why Rajah Caruth is such a fun guy to be around. He races clean. He knows what's at stake here. He knows his teammate's the driver racing the championship. He knows the spotter up on the roof is saying 43 is coming. And he gave him room. He gave him racing room because he knew the 43 car of Daniel Dye was faster.
Back up front, Jesse Love and Taylor Gray as the yellow comes out for the second, our final race break here in this 200-lap race at Toledo. Jesse Love has been out front early, out front often. He's already sealed up the most laps led.
This is where the veteran leadership plays. Jesse Love has raced here at Toledo Speedway just 1 time prior, but Shannon Rush's notebook goes back several years. He worked with Riley Herbst in the ARCA Menards Series, moved over to Venturini Motorsports. He's involved in everything on the setup to how the team is managed, what the simulator tells him, what the engineers have to put forth in the car. Venturini's have their own simulation program now that works really well on the ARCA platform. They don't have to work on what an Xfinity car would do at Kansas. They can actually put things in their setups that they've learned on their own and their own stuff they have to draw from, their own technology. So it's great to know that Jesse's put it to use, but Shannon Rush is leading that brigade, and that's how these teams can be so good with these young drivers and little experience.
Yeah, and veteran crew chiefs who are working with a rotation of drivers, not just young drivers, but a different driver week to week, so having to learn their sort of nuances and be a leader for different personalities. See the teams getting ready. Drivers are going to come into the pits, make the changes, get those fresh tires, as we get ready for the final stretch of racing here at Toledo. Jesse Love leads. Welcome back to Toledo, a chilly day. You see lots of stocking caps, coats, fans bundled up, but a great crowd on hand. The sun is shining. And Toledo Speedway, the home of ARCA Racing, is also the site today of the season finale. Nick Sanchez racing for a title today. There you see him with the General Tire camera on board in his race car. He is racing against Daniel Dye. And this is how we got here, taking a look at the 2022 season. It all started in Daytona. Of course, we saw Taylor Gray win at Phoenix. That was our first race here on MAV TV for the season. 3
big wins for him and that number 17 team. Didn't race all of them, not old enough to race every race, but he has been strong. His first big track, a win at Pocono.
Yeah, a lot of success. Jim said those 3 wins. Also 3 wins for Nick Sanchez. He's been the king of the big tracks.
Talladega, he won at Kansas last fall, won again this year, the first race of the season, and really put it on him at Michigan. Good job by Nick on the big tracks, and they improved this year on the short tracks.
Yeah, that was a great race at Michigan, too. But then once the win started coming for Sammy Smith, once he got that first one at Berlin, floodgates opened.
Won back-to-back. The next week he won at Elko Speedway, another short track in Minnesota. Really strong no matter the track. He won at Milwaukee and the Sprecher 150 as well. And when it comes to short tracks, we said we ended the season the last 3 on short tracks. Well, Sammy's done pretty good in the last 2, Bristol and Salem, winning both of those heading into today.
Then we saw Jesse Love on the dirt with the win. It was a wild finish, but Jesse Love able to get that win, and he's racing for the owner's title today.
He led all the laps that race. He earned that victory, but man, what a scary moment. Thank goodness Buddy Kofoid and Bryce Hockenberg walked away from that one.
And it's interesting because that 20 kind of starting the year at Daytona and then here ending the year at Toledo.
Yeah, really consistent finishes for that team. Again, that's what the 20 team and the 18 for those owner points. Really much comes down to who finishes ahead of the other. And Sammy Smith has yet to lead a lap. Jesse Love has got 2 of those 6 bonus points, so he's now up by 1 point overall. And guess what? Daniel Dye got to within 1 position before we had our race break of Nick Sanchez on this restart. They were only 2 points separating those 2 drivers heading into this one.
Yeah, coming into this race, you only needed 1 hand to do the math because Sammy Smith had the 1 point advantage on the owner's title. Jesse Love gets the pole, so kind of evens things out. Then Jesse Love able to lead a lap, lead the most laps. So Jesse Love advantage right now.
And every driver who leads a lap gets a bonus points. That's what Sammy's looking for now. I think he wants a short run, maybe something he had to work on. Maybe they thought they had it on the lap 75 break, but he dropped back 3-4 spots and immediately in the number 18 Toyota. So the benefit here, you can see the lower tire pressures. The tires are sitting pretty low on the racetrack, lower profile. Starting with lower tire pressures to help build that air. It's a longer portion of the race. If it's a short run, those tires will be have more air in them. For a shorter run, you want to have more air pressure. You don't have time to build up that pressure, but they will in this run have Sammy set on some pretty low pressures, restarting in 3rd inside of row 2 behind Jesse Love. Last restart, he started outside of row 2, pushed Taylor Gray, saying, man, let's get through this. Now it's kind of his own position. I think he'll actually gone up 3rd behind Jesse Love now, not 4th as he was. Just that 1 position passing Grant Enfinger in that late run in that last segment has made a difference for Sammy Smith and his outlook for this restart.
And look at this.
Are you kidding me? Who is that?
This is crazy. That's the number 2 of Nick Sanchez. Those are the 2 cars racing for the championship. Before the last restart in our race break, Daniel Dye couldn't get it fired, didn't have the power. Now look at what is happening with Nick Sanchez.
He'll need a push too. Daniel Dye's need to push. Wow. Both contenders need a bump to go.
Wow. This is huge. And just, I mean, you have to wonder what this does mentally to your mindset. Daniel Dye probably thinking, yep, I've been through it. I want to make sure that I have everything I need for this final stretch. That was our last race break. We don't know. I mean, more cautions may be coming. There may be more restarts, but that is the last scheduled race break for these teams to come in and make the changes that they need.
We still have 15 cars on the lead lap as well. So in terms of in other races we had this year at Salem Speedway, we lapped up to 6th or 7th by this point in the race. There are still 15 cars battling on the lead lap. So it's not a matter of getting those positions because on restarts in the ARCA Menards series, lead lap cars always are positioned ahead of cars a lap or more down on every restart if they pitted or not. So it's a big difference now with those 15 cars to work through. So if there's an issue and those cars of the 2 and the 43 of Sanchez and Dye, let's see how they line back up here. That's a big difference if they're able to be pushed off and get their spot back or if they lost it like Daniel Dye did on an earlier restart.
And you talk about the air pressure. Again, it's cold. We heard crew chief Chad Bryant talk about the grip. You know, it's hard to pass because it's so cold. There's a lot of grip, but the sun is shining. So we will see those air pressures grow a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's the sun beating down on the racetrack. Turns 3 and 4. We've got a lot of sun. Turn 2 in the shade.
Mike, do you have a report? What's going on with that number 2?
Well, yeah, Krista, you just saw the team pushing the car down pit road. It needed a push truck as well. Apparently, this was not the first time that's happened today. They had an issue earlier in the race. So on that pit stop during that race break, they also changed the battery, hoping that would rectify the problem. Obviously, it did not. The team tells me they think it's the starter, but now that they've been pushed, they're refired. They're hoping that they can come to the finish.
Wow, so much going on with both of our title contenders, Daniel Dye and now Nick Sanchez in that number 2. Had to change a battery.
What a day to overcome for Nick Sanchez. He'll realign in 6th position outside row number 3 on this restart. He'll have his teammate behind him in Raja Karuth. To the inside of that row, just 1 spot behind Nick. Yep, Daniel Dye right there with him once again. All 3 other point contenders all year long lining up, realigning this race. 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Well, they needed a push truck to get going. We do not need a push truck to get us fired up for this race. This is for the championship. Jesse Love, another great launch out front. We're riding on board with Nick Sanchez, the General Tire camera looking out his car. Look at that.
Daniel Dye out the windshield now, not the rear view for the 2 of Sanchez. Daniel Dye gets a spot on Sanchez. The 43 car has now moved into that 6th position ahead of Nick Sanchez and Raja Karuth.
Keep your eyes focused right there on that number 43 and that number 2. You know that's what Nick Sanchez is doing. He is looking at the driver who he has to battle for the championship.
That's his teammate. The 43 of Dye gets ahead of the 44 of Grant Enfinger. Enfinger now out the front windshield of Nick Sanchez in that Gainbridge Chevrolet.
Nick Sanchez 7th on the racetrack. Daniel Dye is 5th.
That's the difference. Dye needs 2 positions. He now goes high. Dye is off pace. Listen to that. We don't hear an engine in that in-car camera audio.
And you saw Nick Sanchez go by after Dye had just passed him for the position. Now there's an incident on the track as the 11 spins.
Is this the most opportunistic race for Daniel Dye? It certainly is the craziest race I've seen for a championship between 2 cars, mechanical failures, overcoming that. That's a huge break for Daniel Dye if indeed that car has issues. He lost a bunch of track positions, but he could have been a lot worse off.
And now the yellow is out. Mike, what's happening down there?
Yeah, they believe it's another shock issue. You saw earlier in the race they changed the left rear shock. They believe this is the right front shock that may have broken, and that caused the problem for the 43.
So made a shock change. Now another shock problem. Let's take a look at the auto park at replay. We're talking about mechanical issues. Yes, there's incidents on the track. Yes, we're having yellow flags, but these are things that are happening internally with their race cars.
And Daniel Dye just had his hands full trying to keep it out of the fence in turn 2. If it's that left rear shock, man, that's such a... I've not had that feeling in a race car, especially at these speeds and what's on the line, but that young driver, great car control to keep it off the wall. And as he comes to pit road, again, you can pit anytime during the race. You don't have to pit just during the race breaks, but that's a huge issue and a huge moment to take advantage of because it's under caution for Daniel Dye, not under green to make these changes. If that left rear is broken, they've got parts in the infield. They'll try to fix that car and get him back out, no question. But what a break to have it come under caution here for Daniel Dye and this championship contending team. Now look at the right side first.
So again, when you're racing for the title, not good that you're having problems, but you're talking about the fact that we just saw the 11 of Brandon Varney spin that brought out the yellow. So Daniel Dye is able to bring his car into the pits for the team to look at it, find out what's going on. Mike talked about a shock change they made.
Right front, I think, is what they're looking at right now, Krista. That wheel really took a long time to leave the ground, if you will. If that shock is broken, it certainly is a auspicious position for that right front tire to be in right now. Oh, man, what a big break, and we're going 1 to green next time. They'll do what they can. Can they stand lead lap? The answer is doubtful at this point.
Wow, coming in, these drivers were 2 points apart. Daniel Dye had the advantage in qualifying. He was able to put this car on the front row. Nick Sanchez had trouble in practice. They weren't even able to get laps in the car that he's racing. He had to jump in his teammate Raja Karuf's car just to get out there and practice. So he was starting way back, at least for that team, starting 8th. He was able to make up some ground. Daniel Dye was able to make up some ground, but now they've both had issues in this race.
Toolboxes of the infield. You saw Chad Bryant digging through the drawers there, trying to get what he needs to fix that right front on the 43. Mike, this is crazy. What's going on down there? I got to know.
So Daniel came over the radio initially and thought it was a right front shock that had broken. It's not. It's a ball joint that has gone bad, and that's what they're working on right now.
Just the fact that they have these gremlins in the car, you know, having to get the push. Then we saw Nick Sanchez having to get the push. You see the team there, that number 43 team for GMS Racing. Daniel, look at that, shaking his head. That says so much looking at that driver inside the car up on jack stands.
Pace car lights are off. Daniel Dye's season has come down to this race. He got within 2 points of Nick Sanchez. Sanchez will restart this race in 6th position, and Daniel Dye's car is still on jack stands on pit road.
It's just debilitating, absolutely debilitating to do everything that you know you can do to go out there and race, and to now not have the control to do anything. You're sitting in your race car, a machine that is built to be out on the racetrack.
And Nick Sanchez, he had to get pushed the last time he came to pit road.
That's right.
He has that new engine from missing practice because they had to change this motor. This was during practice. Matt Booker and the team changed that motor to get Nick in time to qualify. They've had their own issues today. Believe me, it's a longer list than Daniel Dye's, and to this point, that's changing quickly.
And there are still a lot of laps to go, 60 laps to go, and we have seen the positions change, so you're exactly right. Nick Sanchez has had gremlins of his own. So yes, he is out on the racetrack. He is currently running 7th. It's Jesse Love and Taylor Gray out front, as it has been most of the day. There you see the 17 trying to chase down the number 20. Sammy Smith is in third. Sammy Smith in that 18 is trying to get to Jesse Love because they're racing for the owner's title.
Jesse Love putting another great restart together. Gap in this field. He and Taylor Gray really got a great restart. Jesse the better, and he's leading this field now. The battle here is among teammates, the Rev Racing teammates, the 6 of Raja Kruth trailing the teenager racing for Venturini part-time in the 15, Landon Pembleton.
So now if you're Nick Sanchez, you're out there with your crew chief, Matt Bucher, trying to tell him, just stay calm, because now I just saw your face. What happened?
I just gave a little, hello, I gotta go. Move Landon up the hill in turn 4.
Here's what you didn't see at home. We have a monitor up here, but I had just turned to Jim to ask him a question, and his face just told me everything I needed.
Yeah, the mask from the movie, Scary Movie. I had that kind of that facial expression with my mouth wide open. Oh!
Riding on board the General Tire camera of Nick Sanchez.
Yep, Nick Sanchez is really giving an inside look as well. Pembleton's car, the right rear is flapping. That's where the rear body panel meets up with the rear bumper cover. That's been tagged loose, flapping in the breeze. That's not going to hamper his efforts here on this short track, but Nick Sanchez is really filling up the inside mirror, the little fisheye, and that A-pillar of the 15 of Pembleton, making just his third ARCA Menards Series start here, racing with Nick, trying to hold position here. That number 15 team came in here 5th in the owner's points. No chance of catching 3rd or 2nd or 1st, but Landon wants to put a good run together. Limited schedule. He wants to put some funding together to run more of these races with Venturini next year. I hope he does. He's got a 3rd place and a 6th place finish already this season in just those 2 races he's run at Elko and Milwaukee with the team.
And sitting in 6th right now, so yeah, really doing well. Just his 3rd race here this season.
And Sanchez was pressuring. Now here's the luxury. Nick knows what Daniel Dye's been up to lately. He knows if he pressures him, he's not going to push the issue too hard. He's not going to maintain his race, maintain his pace. The number 73 of Andy Jankowiak is behind him, but not that close to pressure him right now. That orange and black number 73.
But Nick Sanchez has got to come in thinking, okay, wait, I had the motor trouble. Did we get everything worked out? I had to get a push after that last race break. Did we get everything worked out? He's on the track. He's currently running 7th. Daniel Dye scored in 16th currently.
We're 50 laps to go in the season. Jesse Love over a 2nd lead now on this car. The Frank Kimmel tribute paint scheme, the factory canopies colors, the brazen orange and black of Taylor Gray, currently 2nd in the Reese's onboard. Look at him, he's just kind of hanging on the wheel. I like how loose he is. His hands aren't gripping that wheel. He's just kind of feeling it with the finger, thumb, and maybe the palm on the right hand. They're turning that car with the left hand.
And you said that paint scheme. It's one a lot of these fans here in Toledo know very well, the colors of Frank Kimmel.
Yeah, he and Larry Clement put it on him. I mean, he won a championship one year by over 1,000 points in the run he had with Larry to back-to-back championships year after year with those colors with advanced auto parts on that race car. Grant Enfinger, the black number 44, back in the ARCA Menards Series. He's going to race at Homestead Miami Speedway for a NASCAR championship. He said, I've got to win there. This is fun to come here and not have all the pressures of racing for a NASCAR Truck Series championship. He's in the playoffs in the Truck Series, but back here in ARCA where he won the championship in 2015.
There's Sammy Smith. Sammy Smith racing for the owner's title for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Sammy Smith is our most recent winner, coming in here after the win at Salem and the win at Bristol back-to-back.
5 wins since June. Top 5 runs in all but 1 race this year. Had 1 hiccup along the way, and what a great run he's had here today. Not the perfect run, but a really strong run in that number 18 for Kyle Busch Motorsports and Mark McFarland.
Right behind him, Raja Karuth. There's the bounty camera on board with Raja. We talked about a rookie, not knowing a lot of these racetracks, and has really had a lot of success. Not maybe by his accord, he wants to win, but still a powerful and good season for him.
And that bump we saw earlier, he has a better race car right now than Landon Pembleton. As he goes through the corner here, man, that was a close call with a couple of slower cars. Raja Cruz got about 8 car lengths now on Landon Pembleton, so indeed that number 6 car is faster. So that little nudge and go, Raja was just waiting his time and has a better race car at this moment in the race to hang on to 5th.
Jesse Love, that number 20, he was 2nd last week in Salem. He said that's not good enough. He's going for the win today. He has led early. He has led often. The purple and white number 20 for Venturini Motorsports continues to lead the race, the season finale here at Toledo.
This MAV TV Motorsports Network broadcast is brought to you by Richmond Water Heaters, the water heater experts. Auto Park It. The future of parking is here. See it at autoparkit.com. And by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
Welcome back to Toledo. Jesse Love continues to lead, but we had a little bit of movement while we were at break, a little bit further back with that number 44 of Grant Enfinger currently up to second. Let's show you what happened. Take a look at our Auto Park It replay. Taylor Gray in that 17. Grant Enfinger says, look out, I'm coming.
I'm here. Give me room. He does. That's for second.
And there's Sammy Smith right there, too. He was able to take that third position right here.
Just some good hard racing. Taylor Gray didn't say a whole lot on the radio, but the team said, hang in there, man. Don't give up on us. Handling not where he wants it as they went 3 wide there into turn 3. Didn't know you could do that here at Toledo.
They make it look so easy. They're so smooth that, yeah, it's almost like, wait a minute, that was 3 wide. So Taylor Gray now in 4th. Now he has to chase down Sammy Smith in 3rd, Grant Enfinger. They're all trying to catch up to that really fast number 20 today, Jesse Love.
Nick Sanchez is 7th on the race. Out of the race officially, Daniel Dye. Back in the 18th position.
Again, those are your championship contenders. Nick Sanchez on board there, their General Tire camera. Nick Sanchez, 21 years old from Miami.
He'll get a chance to celebrate this championship if it all plays well, and he gets to race at his home track, Homestead Miami Speedway, in the Xfinity Series this year. With Big Machine Racing in the Xfinity Series, he's looking forward to that, and he's going to buy a bunch of tickets and probably won't have any worries after today about where he's going to find a little bit of cash to do that, with a bunch of family and friends joining him there in a couple weeks.
He keeps asking for more tickets, he said, because I think they're out of the allotment that I'm allowed, but he keeps trying. Hey, Mike.
Well, talking about Jesse Love, I mean, he's putting on a show today, not only looking for the owner championship, trying to put that away, but trying to walk off on the ARCA series with a victory here this year. I talked with his crew chief, Shannon Rush, earlier today about how much he has grown and matured as a driver, and he said tremendously in 2 areas. One, car control, the other in feedback. Both areas, he's gotten simpler. Tried a little bit maybe too hard earlier in the season, but he found a way to be more efficient. That's helped the team give him a better race car, and it's showing today. He is absolutely dominating. They've said he's had a great race car since the very beginning.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, really good. I mean, the feedback there has got to be great for Shannon Rush to be able to have that and see his driver mature. Having to deal with some lap traffic there. You see that 43 of Daniel Dye.
Made it back out.
Able to make the changes. Back out, had the shock. No, it was a ball joint issue.
37 laps down. Great to see them battling out to finish this one on the racetrack, not on the jack stands. Running right with his teammate. I'm sure that car feels really good. He'll have to do it. There's 20 laps left in the race. Dye is 37 laps down. So if Nick Sanchez somehow had an issue now, he'd still finish ahead of Daniel. Man, what a heartbreak for that 43 team. And that first-year driver.
It is nice to see him back out there, though, because I would imagine as a driver, when this is what you do, this is what you want the steering wheel in your hands, knowing, though, he has to turn these laps without being able to go for that ultimate prize. That was one of your keys, eyes on the prize.
Yep.
But it is nice to see him back out there and able to finish out the season.
Andy Jankowiak in the number 73. Getting a lap for the first time today. He's done a nice job in the Automotive Consultants Chevy. Hope to see him back in some more races this year. As long as he gets that funding, he's selling used cars and delivering pizzas, making it all trying to happen here. Hope to see him back in the ARCA more often. He's done a great job this season in his limited runs in that 73.
What a hard worker, too. A lot of these drivers, you know, kind of have these other jobs. We talk about Greg Van Alsten, the 35, owns a Friends company. We've talked about different drivers and what they do Monday through Friday away from the racetrack, all to just kind of get to come and live out their dream here at the racetrack on the weekends here in the ARCA Menards season. It's Grant Enfinger in that 44. There's Sammy Smith in the 18. Now Sammy Smith is racing for he's already won the ARCA, I keep saying Busch, the ARCA Menards Series East Championship.
Yep.
So
well, it's called the Busch North back in the day. Let's go all the way back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Going back to my Frank Kimmel. You know, you talk about seeing the Frank Kimmel car out there taking me back. But Sammy Smith is trying to win an owner's title for his boss, Kyle Busch. That's who he races for here in the ARCA series.
Andy Santerre, Beaver Dragon. We're going back to the Busch North now. Let's just keep it there. Nah, I'm kidding. Great series history there, now called the ARCA Menards Series East, where Sammy's now a back-to-back champion. 3 of their races were companion races with the ARCA Menards Series this year. And Sammy did pretty good in those two.
This is interesting because we talk about the youth and watching Sammy Smith in that 18. So he's trying to win an owner's title for Kyle Busch, while Jesse Love is trying to win it for the Venturinis. You know, longtime teams, competitors here in the ARCA series. But they are both, back-to-back East and West Series champions.
Yeah,
Sammy
Jesse
Smith
won
and
twice
Jesse Love.
before coming to this series. Sammy now just lapped up his second East Series championship. So yeah, it's great to see that pedigree coming through. ARCA Menards Series East and West. They have the same platform now as the ARCA Menards Series, and to be able to intermingle. It came down to a West Series that's separate from anything else. ARCA only ran with them once this year at Phoenix as a companion race. So to see Jesse do that, and what a dramatic finish he had last year to win the championship. Last lap, one position in the West Series at Phoenix. They're going to wrap it up there, and a lot of these teams are heading there. This is a great way to wrap up their season. They're not quite done yet.
And Jesse's not done yet here on the racetrack because he's got Grant Enfinger coming. He's going to have to hold him off to win this race, and winning the race would ensure that owner's championship. He really can't give up a position because if we're doing the math, Sammy Smith is right there.
Sammy Smith is running third. We talked about every point matters. There's 3 additional points for the race winner. Jesse Love has 2 bonus points today so far. Sammy's got none.
10 laps to go here in this race, here in this season. Nick Sanchez racing for the title. Mike.
I was able to speak with his car owner, Max Siegel, this week to ask what it would mean to him for Nick Sanchez to win. He said it reminds him of when Kyle Larson won the ARCA East Series Championship back in 2012. He said the difference, though, Kyle Larson at the time already had a reputation. When he hired Nick Sanchez 5 years ago, nobody knew who he was. He said to see him win a title today would be like seeing one of his children win a title, because he's seen him mature over the last 5 years, and he certainly has put in the work and deserves it. Max Siegel at home certainly pulling hard for his team today.
He's got to be jumping up and down in front of the television. I hope he is. I hope he's enjoying this race and what is about to happen in 7 laps.
A lot has gone to let Max, to the medicine captain, to get a bunch of tums to this point in the race, man, for that 2 team.
It hasn't come easy, that's for sure. Back up front, Grant Enfinger trying to chase down Jesse Love. Jesse Love has led a whole lot of laps here in Toledo.
Enfinger's got a quick race car. I just don't know if he's got a clean enough racetrack to catch him here in the final 5.
And Sammy Smith is right there. If anything happens up front with these two, with the 20 and the 44, you can bet Sammy Smith is going to be there, because the 20 and the 18 are racing for that owner's title. Grant Enfinger just coming out here to play. Loves the ARCA series. He's a former champion. He is right up to the bumper of Jesse Love, taking a little peek on the inside. There are fans on their feet here, going crazy, yelling for what a great finish here at the end with 4 laps to go.
Enfinger's run here 8 times, yet to win. 3 top 5 finishes, led a bunch of laps, and here he goes to the lead. The fans are cheering. Grant Enfinger has put on a show for the fans here in a return to ARCA Menards Series racing. Jesse Love, though, he's not done yet.
They are side by side. What a finish. We're not done yet. 3 laps to go. We haven't seen the last of this. Sammy Smith is right there on Jesse Love's bumper.
Giving racing room. The drama could not be any greater right now. Jesse Love goes into turn 1. They touch. There goes Sammy Smith.
Wow. We thought the battle was between the 44 and the 20. Sammy Smith able to sneak on the inside and take the lead away from Jesse Love.
1 lap to go. Sammy Smith now has that bonus point.
Look at him sawing at that wheel. He is racing for the win. He is also racing for the title, the owner's title for Kyle Busch Motorsports, with just 1 lap to go. And Sammy Smith wins the race. Holy Toledo.
What a dramatic run. Sammy Smith gets a bonus point. He was leading by 1 heading into this one. It was zeroed out before the race began. Jesse Love scored 2 bonus points, but guess what? There's 3 bonus points to the race winner.
So Sammy Smith just won the owner's championship.
Yep.
Kyle Busch Motorsports is the winner for the owner's title in the ARCA Menards Series. And we talk about racing making dreams come true, as you see the 20 and the 18. The 18 doing the burnout there because he just won the owner's title. Jesse Love did everything right. It was those closing laps. Grant Enfinger able to get by. Wow. Smoke everywhere as Sammy Smith does the burnout for winning the race and the owner's title. That's got to be hard for Jesse Love to take right there.
I think Jesse might have thought he won the race the way he was coming down to maybe do some burnouts.
And there is your 2022 ARCA Menards Series champion, Nick Sanchez, wins the title. We're going to hear from all of them when we come back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Sammy Smith is your winner. Sammy Smith wins the owner's title, but we saw a little bit of some heat, if you will. We're going to show you an auto park it replay as we see Mike Massaro down there with the winner, Sammy Smith. We'll get to him in just a minute, but let's see if we can take a look at what happened and what transpired.
2 to go into turn 1. The white car is Jesse Love on the inside. Grant Enfinger's trying to race him, and the 18 of Sammy Smith nudged the number 20 rear bumper of Jesse Love, and Jesse was not happy with that move that Sammy Smith put on him.
So Sammy Smith had been doing burnouts, winning the race. Jesse Love goes over to the window net. He actually takes the window net down. Wow, has to get pulled back. This is crazy. This was such a wild day, but Sammy Smith does win the race, and Mike Massaro is there.
Yep, catching up with Sammy Smith now in victory lane here in Toledo. But first, we've got to ask you what transpired between you and Jesse Love.
Yeah, nothing personal there, but there was a shot to take it, and I took it. He was struggling, and to be honest with you, we weren't very good all race. We had a third-place car, and they probably had the best car there at the end, and probably the Ford did too. But it was a shot to win, and owner's points on the line, and he gave up. I don't know how many points there was after a couple races ago. I think after Bristol it was 25 points, and we already gave him back. So, he should have probably done a better job there. But just thanks to all these guys never giving up on me, and thanks TMC, Pilot Flying J, Allstate Peterbilt, Render Group, Toyota, all the guys that work hard, and it's a good one.
At the end of the day, you're in victory lane. Another victory for you. You also gave your owner the championship in the owner's championship department. What's that mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot to get the owner's championship. Drew started at the year, and thanks to him, thanks to all these guys for continue to get the owner's championship. I wish I could have ran for the driver's championship, but it just wasn't going to work.
There will certainly be other drivers' championships that Sammy Smith can run for. Congratulations on a job well done today.
Yeah, thank you.
Sammy Smith in victory lane here in Toledo.
Wow, able to make the pass for the win in the closing laps for his 6th win of the season. So Sammy Smith comes out ahead of Jesse Love, comes away with 2nd.
That's the race finish, and it looked a lot different. 2 laps to go on this one. We thought Enfinger might have had a chance, and Sammy Smith snuck on through. Great run for the top 3 positions to change. Taylor Gray, solid run in 4th, and great job by Raja Karut to finish 6th.
And Nick Sanchez finishing 6th. He goes on to win the championship, so it is a win for him as well. Great run for Greg Van All, series regular Amber Balkin to come away with a top 10.
The 8th place finish, Matthew Gouldy finished 10th at Milwaukee in his debut. That 16-year-old, another good run. 8th today in that Nice Motorsports 40.
Every time you say it, 16 years old, I say, there's no way.
A lot of great talent and youth in this series.
Let's go ahead and head back downstairs. Mike Massaro has caught up with Nick Sanchez.
Yep, we're catching up with the champion right now. He's getting congratulations from the president of ARCA, Ron Dreger, right now, also his crew chief. Wow, what a day. How would you describe how this thing whole played out for you?
Well, the first part was pretty hectic. It was pretty close. We had to stay out to get a point leading the lap. And then once the 43 had a problem, it all got a lot easier. We just rode the end of the race, honestly. Didn't want to get caught up in a racing incident, but obviously my guys brought me a very fast car at the end with the way it came alive. But yeah, I'm just happy to get it.
So put this in perspective for me. What's it like to capture this championship?
Oh yeah, it's huge for me, but Max Eagle Rev Racing, the people that got me here, 10 years ago they won the Cannon East title with Kyle Larson, so it's cool to get them this 10 years later, and Gainbridge, Chevrolet, everyone who helps on this program, and mainly Max Eagle. He deserves it, and I know he's watching. And I'm glad to have his wife Jennifer here, and we'll celebrate.
Max told us earlier this week that it would be like watching one of his children win the championship because he saw you mature over 5 years. What's the journey over those last 5 years been like for you?
Yeah, I started with Max and Legend Cars, and his program built me into the driver I am today, and it's given me the opportunities, in the Xfinity Series and so on. So to have this, to get this for him is crazy, and started driving for him in 2017. So 5 years later, this is where we're at.
So from Legend Cars to an ARCA championship, congratulations, Nick.
Thank you.
There's your 2022 ARCA Menards Series champion, Nick Sanchez.
Congratulations to Nick, his entire family. Like we said, he's going to go celebrate in Homestead in the Xfinity Series car. But what a day, what a season for him, and what a race, Jim. We definitely had some Reese's sweet moves in this one.
Had to narrow it down to these choices. Grant Enfinger right there with the number 17 of Taylor Gray. This is early on. Enfinger showing how to get it done at Toledo with a great inside pass into turn 1. Is that your vote?
That's a good one. That happened early, but then what about this? The 18 and the 17 battling. This was a good one.
It really was a race changer for Sammy Smith. He said the car wasn't that good, but by passing Taylor Gray, he knew he had a decent piece, and man, that was a close call. Great, sweet move by both drivers.
Okay, I said at that point, nothing's going to top it. There's no way. And then this happened in the closing laps.
Jesse Love moving up the racetrack. He got a little help from Sammy Smith, but he was locked into a race to maintain that lead with Grant Enfinger. Nope, Sammy Smith had something to say about it and went on to win the race with that Reese's Sweet Move nomination.
All right, now it's in your hands. You can jump onto the @ARCA_racing Twitter page starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow and cast your vote for the Reese's Sweet Move of the race. If you haven't done it yet this year, this is your last chance. You have to do it starting tomorrow. All right, we want to hear what happened with Jesse Love. Mike, have you caught up to him?
Yeah, Jesse Love here. It seems like he's caught his breath a little bit. We saw what transpired between you and Sammy at the end. Of course, you went over to the car as well. In your estimation, what happened?
I mean, first off, I want to apologize to my sponsors and my team for making any sort of negative impact on anything. But at the same time, I got to stick up for myself, and not only for myself, but for my team. You know, the 18 wrecked the 20 at Kansas, the 18 wrecked the 20 at Pocono. Kansas might have been more of a racing deal, but Pocono wasn't. Pocono was us getting dumped. So, you know, I felt like we ran a great race. We had a great car. And quite frankly, you know, we got punched 3 times. You know, got 3 punches to R0. We never wrecked the 18 once. I've never wrecked the 18 in my life. But at the same time, you got to know when to stick up for yourself as part of big time auto racing. And I disagree with it 100%. I think that Grant gave me a good shove, and I was able to cross him over and get him back, and then race side by side, but clean with him. And then the 18, you know, cleaned both of us out. So. You know, I can ramble my mouth all I want, but it won't change the outcome. They won the championship, the Owners' Championship, and the race. So I'm sure there's some things that we could have done better. I want to thank everybody that supports our team, all the men and women back at Venturini, and you know, I'll stick up for myself and for my team any day.
All right, Jesse, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Those building blocks, Pocono, he was running 5th, Mike. He was running 5th, and Sammy was running 12th, one of his worst days in ARCA, and they tangled on the last lap, and it cost Jesse some points and a better finish. So as he adds those up, that's been a mounting frustration as they were so close in points and so close on the racetrack a bunch this year.
Well, and this isn't the last time we're going to see them. They're the future of racing. We're going to see them in other series moving on, and there might be a rivalry building that we will continue to watch.
Yeah, and look at the talent this team has. This team was intact from when Ty Gibbs won half the races last year. Sammy steps in. He and Drew Dollar have put together a championship season with the guidance of Mark McFarland. So congrats to that entire Kyle Busch Motorsports team.
And, of course, congrats to Nick Sanchez and Max Siegel, Rev Racing. To everyone at ARCA, thank you. Ron Drager, his entire team. Thank you to all of you at home who have watched ARCA Menards Series Racing this season on MAV TV. Thank you for welcoming us into your living room wherever you watch these races. For Mike Massaro and Jim Trado, our entire crew here at MAV TV, I'm Krista Kelly saying congratulations to our ARCA Menards Series 2022 Shore Lunch 200 winners, Sammy Smith and Kyle Busch Motorsports, for winning the Owners' Championship. It did not come without some fireworks. Of course, the championship trophy goes to Nick Sanchez. The 21-year-old from Miami is your 2022 ARCA Menards Series champion. Congratulations. Thank you for an incredible season.